I want to talk to you today about batteries and battery maintenance. And working with younger technicians, I'm having to teach them a lot of basic skills that I thought they should already know. And I'm realizing they were never taught some of this stuff. Now, some people would say, oh, I can't get good people. These people don't know anything. You're not supposed to get good people. You're supposed to build good people. And in doing so, I've been doing a lot of instructing on battery maintenance and things like that. And I thought I'd give you some advice on if you haven't learned this stuff, how to do this. Okay, old battery I had sitting on the shelf here. Came out of my son's car, I think. And you can see the terminals aren't the best. They're not clean. Now, if you're having starting issues on a car, piece of equipment, whatever, and your terminals look like this, that may be part of the problem. You can see it looks nice and metal here, but up here on the top it looks like it's got some surface corrosion. If you put a terminal down on this, it may not make a good connection. So, one of the first things you got to do is get a battery cleaner. One of these things. This is the Harbor Freight version. This is my grandpa's old one from way back in the day, and it's a bit better quality. But you want to brush up the top of this post. Not that the top matters a whole lot, but corrosion grows, so you want to get the whole thing clean. And it's made to go down on top of this battery. And clean. Now if you notice, it gets the top half real clean, the bottom half it's not as good with. You just got to work with it. And when you get it as clean as you can, get that brush out again. And work your way around it. You got to do this on both terminals. That's the first step to battery maintenance. Now, once you got both terminals clean, you got to look at the overall top of the battery. I mean, this has got crud all over it. Now, if you know much about chemistry, you know that all that dirt, when you add moisture to it, can become an electrolyte. And if you have an electrolyte between these two terminals, your battery is going to drain itself dead. It may take a couple months. If you're driving the car regularly, you may not notice it because it's the alternator's charging it back up between uses. But then you let the car sit for a week while you go on vacation. You come home, boom, car won't start. Well, did you keep the top clean? Clean that crap off. You make it look nice and clean. And this is a good thing to do whenever you do your oil change. If you do your own oil changes, take a minute, make sure the battery's clean, and if it is, you're good to go. Now, one more thing on battery maintenance. Those caps on top are sometimes removable. The big ones like this are removable. Then you can see your water down in there. If you can see any of the plates above the water, then your battery is low. And you'll want to top it off. I can see water in each of these, and I don't see any plates sticking up. So I'm going to clean that crud off the top. I'm going to try to keep it out of the battery holes, but I'm not going to worry about it too much if it does get in there. Take your caps, set them back on place. Don't get battery acid on your hands if you can help it. It's corrosive. It'll tear your skin up. Make it itchy. All right. Battery's good to go now. There's no cracks in the case, no bulging. It looks good. I could probably recharge it and it'll do just fine. Now, people talk about using desulfators, things like that. You get further into it, you might look into those, but I'm just going to teach you the basics here. Now, for charging, they've got a lot of new battery chargers that are automatic, do all sorts of gee whiz things for you, but they're finicky. I've got this old garage sale battery charger that I paid $5 for last year, and it works pretty good. So I cleaned up the terminals on it. Negative, positive, red to positive, black to negative. I always do it that way. even when you're just hooking up jumper cables, always make sure your polarity's standard and that you're not doing things backwards. I got to replace this plug. I don't like not having that ground wire on there. But hook up your battery first, plug it in, boom, I'm on low charge. You can see it's only doing 1 amp, 2 amps, and that's good. High amperage is if you've got to get it done in a hurry. But if you want it done well, you take your time and do the low amperage charge. You'll get a lot finer distribution of your redistribution of your metal when you recharge on low amperage. Now some batteries will have, you've got 6 cells in here, 2.1 volts per cell. Sometimes you'll get little traces between the cells, and that's when you have your battery will read 10 volts, and you can't charge it past that on a low charge. It just won't take more charge. Well, if you hit it with a high amperage charge for about 5 minutes and burn those connections off, then sometimes it'll take a better charge, and then you can desulfate it, things like that. So that's how I go about charging it. We're not going to charge this today. I think the battery's actually decent. I think I charged it already, but I'll show you that in a second here. Once you have your battery charged, you get one of these battery testers. They sell these at Harbor Freight cheap, and these are awesome. It's a dirt simple device. You don't need a high dollar battery tester. This thing works great. It's just basically a load and a switch. So you get the battery hooked up. See if I can do this one-handed now. I don't want to rest this on the terminals, but if I just rest it on one. Okay, so it's reading 13 volts. Put a load on it, it's reading weak, and it goes down. So this battery is a little weak. I do need to charge it up. Of course, it's 20 degrees today, so that's probably not helping at all. 20 degrees in Oklahoma. It doesn't happen very often. So a battery tester like that shows you real quick whether or not it's working, worth its money. So we're going to talk about battery terminals now. If your battery cable, there's several different types of battery cables. This one here, you can see it's got a little gap there. If you can heat shrink over that, that'd make that a good connection. This other end here is the same, but you can see, if it'll focus, you can see there's a gap there, and there's some, if you flip it over, you can see some corrosion growing in there. That's bad. Really, what I'm going to have to do with this one is cut this back to about here and put a new terminal end on it, kind of like this one, and then heat shrink it. And if you do heat shrink, that'll keep it from going bad. So I've got some heat shrink here. I bought it on Amazon. You can buy this stuff dirt cheap. Use it. It makes a big difference in how long your work lasts. You don't want to do the work to fix something and have it go bad 6 months later and you got to rework it again. Do a job right the first time. I got the stand over here for a reason. Maybe I ought to start using it. Okay. So I'm going to get this heat shrink over this. And basically right to the edge of that curve there. And where did I put my torch? Okay, I'm just going to hold this ways away so it doesn't get too hot. You just want to hit that heat shrink tubing with a little bit of heat, enough to get it to shrink up, and you can see it's getting soft and closing in. Ooh, this bottle's cold to hold in my hands. There's a pressure differential. The pressure inside this propane bottle is dropping as it's using the propane. And with the temperature being 20 degrees outside, this bottle's down to about 0 already and getting colder, making my hand numb. Maybe some other time I'll make a video on air conditioning and how that works and pressure differential and so on and so forth, but not today. Okay. So you can see there, that's nice and tight around there, and that keeps some moisture from getting in there and causing that corrosion. So, always heat shrink. Okay, so as far as the terminals themselves go, we've got a couple different designs here. This one's molded in place. This one's one of those clamp-on ones, and then here's some marine terminals. I actually like the type that have the bolt that go through the back end to connect the wire, and you use a connector like that and bolt it on. Don't have any of those handy, so we'll be using this one. The thing I don't like about these is you get corrosion growing in there. These are great if you have heat shrink over them, but they're not repairable. They're one use only. And you see the bolts missing on the nuts missing on this one. This one's garbage, but you know, I've got it here for example. You see this one's been over tightened. Somebody's cranked down on it, grilled it, and so it may not grip the terminal real well. But we'll show that here in a second. So, how do you tighten down terminals? How do you know when they're tight enough on the battery? You just crank them down and crank them down and crank them down until it bends like that? No, you don't want that. So let's, yeah, see, I can't even get this on the terminal. So let me get a tool out here. See if I got one of these. All right, so I was looking for this. I thought I had one. Pretty sure I did, and I do. You take it and you stick it inside your terminal if you can. This one's Harbor Freight. It's a little wrong sized. I'm gonna get a hammer here. I'm not going to beat on it, and I'm going to tap it and make the camera jump, I'm sure. Okay, it's designed to fit in there, and you can squeeze it, and it opens up the terminals just a hair. I think just beating it on there did what I need to do. Let's see. Okay, almost. That's actually need to go a little wider. It doesn't seat all the way down. You want your battery terminals to go all the way down so you have room for corrosion to grow up in the bottom side. So, stick this in here, squeeze the handle, stick it in there a little more. Oh yeah, that's nice now. So, even though this has been beaten on and cranked on, you can see it's the right size now to fit over this terminal. So, does it seat all the way down? Just about. Now I've done this in the past. If I can't get it to go all the way down, light taps. You don't want to misshape in your terminals. It's lead. You don't want to beat on it hard enough that you misshape it. But see how it sits all the way down on there? That's what you want. You don't want corrosion building up underneath. So once you get your terminal seated all the way down, you can use your 1/2" wrench for these older terminals. Newer ones sometimes have 10mm or other crazy sizes. And you're going to tighten this down. How tight do I go? Well, first off, you want to take up the slack. Get it. This is not snug yet. So once it starts getting snug, and it's not going to feel crazy tight. Never set your tools on top of your battery. Okay, now I've got it tight enough that I can't turn it with my bare hand. That's all as tight as you need to go. Don't go tighter. Don't go cranking it down to these meat. That's garbage. So that's how you tighten that down. If you can't turn it by hand, you've got it tight enough, and it'll last for years like that. Unless you have some kind of other battery maintenance, you draw the battery dead, you won't have to touch those fittings. I've done that for years. That's the way I was taught, and that's one of those tips that doesn't get passed on that we need to start passing on. If you can't twist it sideways, it's good. Now your ground cable is just as important as your power cable. You've got to have a good clean connection to your block. If your end of your connection looks like this and your block looks like that, you're not going to get a good ground. You're going to have a voltage drop across this resistance here, and you're going to have a starting problem. So, time to break up the cleaning supplies again. Get your wire brush and just work it, and keep working it, and keep working it until you have a nice shiny surface to connect to, or to connect with, and then clean off your block or wherever you're connected to on the frame and make sure it's good and clean too. If it's got paint doesn't conduct electricity. You might have to get in there and grind it a little bit. Once you get it done, on both sides, because your bolt goes on this side, and your bolt is going to carry some current too. Once you get it clean, you bolt it in place, and then you can put a cleaner on top of it, or a sealer on top of it, to make sure that it doesn't corrode again. Now some of you are saying, what can I do to protect this bare metal to keep it from corroding again. Just regular wheel bearing grease. You dab it, you smear it over it, and it'll give you a protective coating. Or, if you can find it, the battery, they have battery spray that you can spray on it that gets tacky and it seals it up, keeps it from rusting. Last resort, here you go, spray paint. You can spray paint your terminals and that will help, it will help keep them from corroding. A lot of times I leave mine bare and clean and just make sure that I clean it every oil change. If you're going to be checking it every couple months and keeping it clean, you can go bare, it's not a problem. But if you're going to have it sit for a year or two and not be checking it, wheel bearing grease, Vaseline works fine. Or if you can, if you can spring forward, if you can find it, get some battery terminal protectant. And that's battery maintenance in a nutshell.